Welcome to the iNetrepreneur Radio Show. We are so honored to bring you your host, the ultimate celebritypreneur, connecting businesses and celebrities worldwide. Winner of the Networking Organization of the Year, best-selling author, magazine publisher, trainer, and owner and founder of Network Together and the iNetrepreneur Media Network from magazines, TV, and radio network. We're excited to bring you your host, Mr. Robert W. Jones.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Hi, I am Robert Jones. Like it says there, and I always get such a tickle every time I see that. I'm like, have we done all these things? Have we been to all those places? Have we had some fun or what? And, a lot of those pictures were actually before COVID. And so now that we're all starting to high five, give hugs and kiss babies and whatnot, I'm excited that we're getting past the COVID coma and everyone else, everyone out there is starting to get out again. I'm really excited. We did come out since the last time you saw us on the show. We came out with the third volume of The Art of Connection. Here it is, 365 Days of Transformational Quotes. You can get this beautiful, wonderful book with over 300 authors on Amazon, of all places, by going to mybook.to/Art of Connection 3. That's mybook.to/Art of Connection 3. And I have two wonderful authors that are in this book on today's show. And I'm so glad. We actually made international best-selling book in 68 categories. So, how fun is that? So our authors are being seen all around the world. We have a community now that's approaching 1,000 author speakers in it. And you know what? Like Doritos, we'll always make more room, and we're going to keep growing this community. A little bit of housekeeping. I want to remind everyone that the Art of Connection Global Summit is coming up on Thursday, February 23rd, 2023. Again, that's February 23rd, 2023. We already have nearly 100 people signed up for this event. So please, if you're on this show, go to Art of Connection Summit, get your tickets. If you use the ticket code ART, you can get in free even, so make some connections, forge some new relationships, be a part of a community, we'd love to have you there. Also, our forthcoming international bestseller, I'm just saying it right now, it's going to be an international bestseller again. Our fourth book, 365 Days of Gratitude Quotes. We're looking at this coming out in November, December of this year. It's for the year 2024. I have a beautiful, wonderful cover co-author. Her name is Donna Campbell. She's going to be sharing in this crazy experience to bring hundreds of authors into the community, her and I. She will also be speaking at the Art of Connection Summit. So I am so excited to see and hear from her. I also want to remind everyone, please go to ntevents.net. That's NT, like a network together. The old schoolers know what that is, network together. ntevents.net. You can get our summits. You can get our chapter meetings. You can get our radio shows. You can, see what's going on in the world of the iNetrepreneur Network, where we put on over 1,000 meetings and events per year. Whew. That sounds pretty busy just by saying it. Also, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/iNetrepreneur Radio. Subscribe to our magazines, iNetrepreneur Network Magazine or The Contemporary Woman. And you know what? I think it's time for us to get going. And please, if you want to put some comments into the chat, and it's a reasonable question, I'll even ask our guest that. So thank you, Facebook user out there, for welcoming back. It really feels good to be back. And for our first guest today, I want to bring him. He's the man of the year in my book. His name is Craig Bruce. Craig, I don't know. For some reason, this is the first show of the year, and you and I both know, health is everything.
Yeah.
We can talk about wealth all you want. And, I recovered from pneumonia in December. I had a little bit of setback in January. And I tell you what, there is nothing, that lights me up more than just feeling like I can get up the day and just conquer the world. And I believe that's the same for you, isn't it?
It absolutely is, Robert. Hey, and it's so great to be on the show. I've been really looking forward to this.
Well, I'm so Glad that you're here as well. And I just want to, I always like to say it. I am here with Craig Bruce. And, Craig, I am glad that we got to meet each other. I mean, the first time we ever talked, it's like, I know this guy. He's going to stay with me. I can't get this guy off the phone because I don't want him off the phone. So I'm with Craig Bruce of Evolve Health and Lifestyle LLC. He's a life strategist. And I had to like condense everything that you are, Craig. I mean, you're a mindset, you're a Nourish, you're a restore advocate, you're keynote speaker, an executive and lifestyle coach. You can reach Craig at evolvehealthandlifestyle.com or call him at 213-760-1652. And again, thank you for being here today. And Craig, I mean, you are like a lot of people. I will just say it like we reside in the same generation a little bit.
Yeah.
And in my generation, we were always taught, go to school, get good grades, do the right things, be a good dad, start a family, right? Go to college. And for me, I went to graduate school and all that and just get a great job, make boatloads of money. And all of a sudden you'd be set for life forever because corporations love you that much. And then something strange happened. There's this little thing that was called burnout. It happened to me and it happened to you. Tell us a little bit about your burnout story and your struggles.
Yeah. So, Robert, for 25 plus years, I lived the life of a busy global corporate executive. 2.5 million miles on one airline and 1 million miles on another. And I would brag about that. I was proud of that.
You wear those stripes, don't you?
Oh, I did. And I just got excited when I got upgraded and everything. I was at the top of my career and it was all great until it wasn't.
Yeah.
And that's the case with a lot of my clients. And so specifically what happened with me is just imagine that you're boarding your return flight home, and it's been an 18-hour day, and you still have another 3-4 hours to go before your head hits the pillow, and you get settled into your window seat, and the flight attendant approaches you, and you think she's going to ask you what you want to drink, but instead she looks at you and says, "You look horrible." And I suddenly turned and saw my reflection in that tiny little window, and tears just began to well up. And I said to myself, "Craig, you're a grown man and you're crying in public. Stop it. Your life sucks." But to everybody else, Robert, I was killing it. But the truth was, I was killing myself.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's a struggle, because I know, being a man, being in the United States, I also served in the United States Marine Corps. There's a few things that I could never do. I could never show any moment of breakdown. I could never show any moment of vulnerability, and I could never show weakness to anyone, even my closest friends, and some of these things become so bottled up over time, um, I showed well on the outside in many ways, but on the inside, I was eroding. Did you have those feelings as well?
Yeah, I did. Although, I thought I was taking care of myself. I was training
Right.
trainer 3 to 4 days a week. I thought I was eating healthy. I thought I was getting good sleep. But at the end of the day, I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so the things that I do now are much more science-based. So I went from being burned out literally the day after that flight. I ended up in my doctor's office and she ordered bed rest. And Robert, do you know what my version of bed rest was?
I want to hear it. I really do. No, what was your version of bed rest?
It was my laptop, my cell phone, and conference calls from my bed.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is not bed rest.
And honestly, that's not bed rest. But I was pretending,
No.
and it was in that moment that I knew that something had to change, and what had to change was I had to become an advocate for my own health and well-being, No one else was going to do that. I had to make a choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's tough to do, Craig, because
It is.
again, it's not like people come up to you very often and they care so much, um, to be fearless to say, "Hey, Craig, you need to make this change." I mean, here you have an airline, you know, uh,
Flight attendant.
flight attendant come up to you and say the very thing that even your closest friends should be saying. I mean, how does that make you feel as well when you're thinking to yourself, did you put on that mask so well, or was it just, what can I say? What was it that you were just really faking your life at that time?
Yeah. So, you said something when you opened the show that just really resonated with me. Our generation was taught to
Hmm.
do, achieve, achieve, achieve. And that's what we do. And we're very good at it.
Yeah.
However, at some point in our life, we begin to ask the question, well, what's next for me? And what about me? And those are the kind of conversations that I'm having with my clients who are high performing business leaders and entrepreneurs who at some point in their life reach a point where they want to continue to achieve success. They don't want to get
Yeah.
off the treadmill, yet they want to be able to find more harmony. And I use the word harmony, not balance, because I personally don't think balance is possible, but I think harmony. They want to find more harmony. They want more harmony in the aspects of their life.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I found as well, and what I've really found is when it comes to success, success can be a very lonely place.
Mhm.
And and what I found, and I was talking to a gentleman last night. I went to a mixer and we were talking quite a bit. He was the top of his field, but the thing was, is he was working so much on in his business, Craig. You know, he was losing family. He was losing
Yeah.
friends. He was losing his place within his own company, and he was achieving success, at the expense of harmony or balance or self-worth and self-being. you know he found himself that he was you know practicing the same routines, and growth also got shuttered out of the way.
Mhm.
In other words, he created his own bed, so to speak. And the thing was, instead of living life, he was only, how should I say this? Instead of he was just being alive, let's say, instead
Yeah.
of living life.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. And I completely relate to that because as I look back at those times when I was at the top of my career, I I was living, but I wasn't alive.
Right. Yeah.
And so, again, as I began to have these conversations with my clients, I found that there are really three areas that we focus on that allow clients, that empower my clients to really achieve even more success in their
Hmm.
life without sacrificing their career and key relationships because they want to continue to achieve, yet and they want to be continue to be successful in their career and with relationships.
Hmm. Well, and but like for a lot of us, it's like, the first step really sometimes is just, having an awareness of it.
Yeah, yeah,
And I think sometimes the biggest challenge that high achievers have is they start to lose perspective and they start to lose awareness. And I
yeah,
think that that's where you come in, and I think that this is why your story needs to be shared so much. I mean, when you're a busy executive, and I know this as well, you start to eat poorly, you don't sleep the right
mhm,
way.
mhm,
You start you think you're utilizing self-care, and quite frankly you're not.
right,
And I always say this, and when you're a high achiever, self-care is usually the first casualty.
right.
you
That
know
that and relationships.
Yeah. And, and relationships are really a part of that self-care. I've seen more
They are.
marriages fail because of improper, self-care and being health. But but you found something that's, science-based, and it really has transformed your life. And there's a lot of cornerstones to what you offer, you know, and, so for me, it's like, how do we create a platform so for your voice to be heard? How do we, and get you in front of people where this voice will resonate, and what are those things that you're offering them so they don't have to be in the place that you and I were in at one time?
Yeah. So again, the three areas that we focus on when I work with clients, one-on-one and in groups.
Hmm.
The first area is consciousness. A lot of people refer to that as mindset. I actually think it's a higher state of being. And so part of the initial conversation is, who do you want to be and how do you want to show up every day? Who are you really? And you're much more than that career. And so who do you want to be and how do you want to show up? That's so
Hmm.
that consciousness piece is so important. And honestly, that evolves, pun intended, that
Yeah.
evolves over the course of our conversations as we work together. The second area is lifestyle, and that's where we focus on how do you nourish your body, how do you restore your body, and how do you move your body. And let me give you some examples of that. So when we think about how you nourish, restore, and move your body, what I have found is that when we build what I call rituals, so a morning ritual and an evening ritual, and those actually go throughout the whole day,
Hmm.
that are science-based behaviors, is that these high-performing business leaders and entrepreneurs actually adopt these rituals because many of them are very structured. So, for example, a morning ritual includes um, hydrating before you caffeinate. It
Hmm.
involves waking up at the same time every day. An evening ritual means stop all caffeine by 2 p.m. in the afternoon so that it doesn't impact your sleep. Shut off your electronics 30 minutes before you go to bed. Right? So those are science-based behaviors that we know have an impact on our energy,
Hmm.
the quality of our sleep, which ultimately has an impact on our success. And then the third area is, and this one surprises people, that we focus on is community. And
Yeah.
and for me, community is really divided into three parts, and it's based on the spheres of influence that I have found that we really just have control or influence over, and that is ourself, that is our relationships, and that's our career. And so we spend a lot of time in those conversations getting very clear, because without clarity, you have default. If you have clarity, you have intention. And so we get very clear on what's important to you, your values, and your non negotiables. And we do that because then that's a great way for you to communicate to your community, to your tribes, how to interact with you and how you're going to interact with them. And ultimately, it's about setting boundaries, or as one of my clients likes to call it, and I actually like this word better, is rather than boundaries, is these are the rules of engagement with me.
Hmm.
And that's so critical because in the absence of understanding what's important to you, you will get derailed on your journey.
Again and again, and so you have three areas, and I want to reinvestigate, one, because I think I want to shed a little bit more light. We talk about, we hear mindset so
Yeah.
much, and I've always been the advocate where, your mindset doesn't matter if your heart isn't set first.
Mhm.
And that's what I love about consciousness, in a way. When we first spoke of that, you and I, it really is what I'm calling the heart set mindset construct. You're creating it as consciousness, and I really want to touch back into this because I think it's so important, for us to start looking at, because when you look at mindset, many times we always talk about the head game and what's in between the ears.
Yeah.
But when you talk about consciousness, Craig, I think, what we're really doing is you're starting from the inside, and you're flowing through to the outside, and that's consciousness, because it's
Yeah.
more global in nature, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. This is why I love our conversations, and this is why we can talk for hours. Our first conversation, I think we were scheduled for 30 minutes, and we went for an hour and a half. So,
Right.
um, so yes, and so for me, and it really involves three areas where we get greater specificity. So one, consciousness is about growth,
Mhm.
um, often referred to as a growth mindset. And Carol Dweck in her book Mindset has just some amazing research. But it's about having that belief that um, growth comes from putting in the work, that growth comes from receiving feedback and taking it. And so it involves growth. It also involves clarity in who you want to be and how you're going to show up every day. And then the third part of that is intention. It involves intention. And let's get really intentional.
And what's really interesting is, I love our conversation so much. We just have to have more. So part of what I found too, Craig, is, I love looking up words, and I love knowing the original intention and meaning of
Mhm.
words. And there was a couple of words that came, like the fourth book, The Art of Connection,
Uh-huh.
365 Days of Gratitude. The original intention of gratitude is what you're talking about in the way that consciousness is. You
Mhm.
know, in our current day, gratitude is usually gratitude that comes from self. But in the original version of gratitude, gratitude was that which we grow, right?
Mhm.
And manifest with self and others.
Yeah.
Gratitude wasn't meant to be an only, a one-way path. It was
Yeah.
actually meant to be a two-way path. And, you know, part of our conversation when we talked about this, and I'm letting everyone know, here on the show, is, you know, you also led me to the fourth theme of the book, because one of the things I wanted to do with the 365 days of gratitude quotes, Craig, was to get people to understand that gratitude is far much richer and deeper than what we think,
Mhm.
and to bring that word back to the forefront. You've been in the third book, and I want to bring this quote out, and I love this quote, and I love your other quote: live your best life with intention, integrity, and clarity. And in the book, you go, in a world of challenge and uncertainty, I have found that you have the power to choose how well you live. But so much of the time, Craig, we abdicate our
Yeah.
power to something or
Yeah.
someone else. And I
Amen.
don't get it, but we
Amen.
do. Why is that?
Well, so amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Because we're doers. We're doers and we're not doers. We
Mhm.
are doers. We achieve. Um, we get on this, and this is where I was. I was on that proverbial hamster wheel, and I just couldn't get off.
Right.
Um, I loved traveling globally. I loved traveling, speaking in front of global audiences. I mean, it was adrenaline. It was dopamine, and
Mhm.
our body. I was hooked on it, and so I think. I think it's because of that. I think there is physiologically we get hooked as high performing achievers. We get hooked on achieving.
Mhm. And that's just it. And when we get hooked on it, it's like any other drug. The problem is that we need it more and more, to the point that, our body is not nourished in all the areas that keep us alive and vibrant, right?
Yeah, and I want to be clear. I'm not
Yeah.
saying you have to jump off that hamster wheel like I did.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you can continue to have all of this success, and let's just make sure that your lifestyle, that how you are living your life, supports your health and your longevity while you continue to achieve
Mm-hmm.
at that high level. And it is also about, and this is, I have found, Robert, is my number one secret for helping, empowering business leaders and entrepreneurs to move forward, is it's about getting clear on what's important to you, and then communicating that and setting boundaries or rules of engagement. And we are not good at that. We don't like to say
Right.
no. We put others first. We put ourselves last. And women do that more than men. And that's not a sexist comment.
Yeah. And I say this about entrepreneurs and high achievers myself because I work with so many of them, Craig. And I still see it, and they even say the very things to do, but they don't do it themselves.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is that I see is, we take so much of our life, right, to work on what we do, but we spend so little time on working on who we are. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I think that that's where, when you bring this in, and you're talking consciousness, and you're talking about the change in lifestyle habits, and then bringing in the right community, offering up those rules of engagements, having that sphere of influence. See, I mean, there's that saying that says, "I alone may go fastest, but to really go farthest, I need to go with that team, that
Yeah.
tribe, that community, that love, that understanding. That's someone who's going to get on the airplane with me and say, 'Craig, you look like crap. You need to get, to the
Yeah.
jacuzzi or get a massage or something like that.'" And I know that feeling, and I know a lot of entrepreneurs do too. And see, here's what happens too, is I say a lot of entrepreneurs, they they don't fail because they don't have knowledge. They fail because they turn their own life into a life of loneliness. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the very loneliness that they live that makes them implode instead of explode. And I think that that's a part of what you do, Craig. That is your magic. You're reaching out there, you're getting with people, and you're opening up their eyes again to living vibrantly. And I think, physically speaking, when you talked about lifestyle, movement is that vibrancy. It's that energy, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I think that's why community is part of, the model that has evolved over the last several years as I've been coaching these high performing business leaders and entrepreneurs. And clearly, movement is. I mean, there's all kinds of research out there that says, 30 minutes of movement a day.
You you
Just move your body.
you
It
have
doesn't.
to have it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
It's so important.
And the other thing that I found too, I call it gleaming. Like you and I, or like Danielle that comes up, or Donna Campbell, or Michael Silver. All of us together, we gleam on each other,
Yeah.
and that gleaming, it's that community that also sends vibration to us as well. And you can't do that alone.
No.
If you are a CEO, you better bring a boat full of CEOs with you, because it's hard to glean on your own, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. It is. And yet there are environments where that don't promote that. And that's ultimately why I'm on this mission to build this inclusive community of high performing business leaders and entrepreneurs where they embrace their uniqueness and soar in all aspects of their life.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel it. So, we're getting to the end of the segment. I want to make sure that, people can get a hold of you. They can get in touch with you. I'm going to put some information in and put it here. Again, I'm with Craig Bruce of Evolve Health and Lifestyle LC. He's a life strategist, mindset, nourish, restore advocate, speaker, executive and lifestyle coach. You can reach him at Craig at Evolve Health and lifestyle.com or call him at 213-760-1652. Three things that you could put out there to the CEO or the high achieving entrepreneur. What's three things that they could do right now, Craig, to really just radically change their life? And after they do that, call you, because I know there's so much more.
Oh, that's such a great question. So one is a mindset thing. All right. It's about progress, not perfection. And along those lines, small hinges swing big doors. So, right, you don't have to shift everything overnight. Small hinges swing big doors. Number two is from a morning ritual perspective, and I mentioned this, hydrate before you caffeinate. And there's all kinds of science. So drink some water before you drink any caffeine. The third thing would be, so I'll give you a morning thing and an evening thing. The morning thing that, and again, this is from a physiological perspective that will just enhance your energy, is shut off all of your electronics. Start with 30 minutes before lights out. Because we know from a science perspective, from science, is that blue light impacts the quality of our sleep, and sleep is so critical to restoring our body, to actually continuing to be that high peak performer.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Craig. I have a whole page full of notes here, let me tell you, just from our conversation, and I learned something from you each and every time. Again, if you would like to reach out to Craig Bruce, he's in the book, The Art of Connection. His information is there. Please find it on Amazon at mybook.to/art of connection. The number 3, you can call him at 213-760-1652. He's brave enough to put his number out there. He's also going to be on our first panel at the Art of Connection Summit coming up on February 23rd, 2023. We already have 100 RSVPs for that event. So please come to that. Join in the party. Let's learn to get to know Craig a little bit more and how he can impact your lifestyle and, quite frankly, your life. Craig, thank you so much for being on the show today. I appreciate you. If there's any other ways to reach, please mention them now. Or if you have anything that you want to offer our audience, go ahead and let us know now.
Yeah, I would say the easiest way to reach me is pull out your phones and type the word and text the word call, CALL, to 26786. Call to 26786. Set up a call. Let's talk.
All right, all you transcribers out there, that's call to 26786. And you'll get Craig from Evolve Lifestyle. I love it. So, Craig, thank you so much.
Thanks, Robert.
I'll see you at the event soon, my friend.
Okay.
Oh, wow. All right. I mean, don't you love Craig Bruce? He's amazing. And I could just stay on with him for hours. I mean, I'm telling you, you give us a weekend, you give us an Airbnb, and I kid you not, Craig and I are going to solve all the problems of the world. I guarantee it, and I know one thing, we're going to start off with some nice lemon water before we start, drinking down that Java for, for each and every day. So thank you so much again, Craig, for being on the show. And you know what? I'm really excited because we have a wonderful young gun who is coming on to the show, and she impressed me so much. My publishing partner and I, we put on some book writing classes over the course of the last book. We thought that would bring some value added to all the authors and speakers and founders and coaches and all these different people that came in the book. And this person was like amazing. I mean, she lit me up every day. I looked at her LinkedIn profile and I said, we got to put Motivator on hers because she is missing out, because I want you to know she can motivate you so well, and she's so young and she's so brilliant. And I'm just really excited to bring Danielle Dittberner to the show today. Hi, Danielle. Oh my goodness. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited to have you here. I'm with Danielle Dittberner, founder of Reach 4, something like that more. I'm trying to make them 4. She's an author, motivator, lifepreneur. You can reach her at Danielle@reachformore.com or call her. She's brave like Craig, at 812-325-7584. And like I said, I really want you to know it's so great. And Craig and I are both believers. I mean, we are open books. We say sharing is caring, and having youth in the room also brings inspiration to us, and we hope we can bring inspiration back to you. And we hope our segment provided some value for you and others in the audience.
Oh my gosh, it was so eye-opening, and I'm sitting there the whole time just going, yes, 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 Craig, yes. We need to have a conversation too.
And that's really what it's all about. And this year I call it the year of gratitude and gleaming. And I say that because just like you can have microaggressions, I feel like you can have like micro awareness, micro epiphanies, micro revelations. And I think that we are living in a whole new revolution now of what people look like, what family looks like, what business looks like, and how it all works together, don't we?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are in a time, I think, that is it's really exciting to be a part of.
Yeah.
Because, and this is even outside of COVID. I feel like this is something that started to happen, and COVID just allowed it to spawn a lot faster. And it's a revolution of consciousness, 100%. It's allowing us to come back to ourselves much more.
I love that, a revolution of consciousness. And and like Craig said, he talks about that first step's consciousness. I talk about the heart set mindset construct. Again, you're bringing consciousness into it. And a lot of what I feel, I'm getting goosebumps saying it because I am included here in this goosebump effect, is that when COVID came, it stopped me in my tracks. It made me reevaluate my business. It made me evaluate how I was with my family. It made me reevaluate the most important part of all the pieces, and that was me.
Yeah.
And talk about a a curse and a blessing at the same time. In many ways, COVID did that, like for me and for a lot of people. And have you seen those things as well, Danielle?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel that in my own personal journey, I had my dark night of the soul in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started kind of rebuilding and reconnecting to myself after that. And so when COVID started to hit, I was like, well, I don't know what the big deal is, because I've been in this cocoon for a bit.
Right.
And I feel like that was another wake up for me, because then it was like, oh, wait, you've already started this process. And since you've already started this process, that's happened for a reason, so that you can be there and support others as
Right.
they're going through the process and it's something that's brand new for them.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it allowed me to have greater compassion and understanding because I had already done some of the inner work myself. And so I knew what it was like to feel like people were completely detached from the external because I had already kind of experienced that a little bit. And I'd already kind of started to transition and figure out the way and kind
You
of
know,
lean into that post-traumatic growth stage.
and you say a word, and Craig would probably agree with this as well. Understanding others, understanding self is probably one of the key factors to the first seed of growing with anything. And it's like so much of the time, I now and I've been really reading and talking about this a long time. It's like what's happening so much of the time is we start in a place, right? And we know we want to get to this other place. And the thing is we just want to like hyper speed to the other place.
Mhm.
But the thing is we want to go from learning to implementing. But you know what we lose in between? It's the journey of understanding. And I think that for a lot of us, we just have to slow down
Yep.
sometimes and really be a part of the journey of understanding to really bring about true growth, don't you think?
Yeah. And I think that goes back to what Craig was saying is that, you know, your generation, I don't think that it's just your generation. I think that it is um, the personality of the United States. If you could
Wow.
say that we had a
Mm,
personality of
okay.
this achievement, this doer mode, I have to do XYZ to be successful, to be worthy, to be um, something, to say that I've done something and I've contributed with my life. And because of that kind of doing and achieving mentality, it is that okay, I want to grow, I want to have growth, but I want to achieve it tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we kind of lost sight of how do I integrate then? Okay, if I'm going to learn and I'm going to grow and expand, how do I go about the integration process? And I think we're in a place now where, because of that heightened consciousness, we're starting to understand that slowing down is what enables us to integrate quicker.
Yeah. There's a saying that I remember reading a book, and it said, um, it said sometimes we have to go slow to go fast.
Mhm.
And and that slowing really is it's the self training. It's that awareness. It's that ability to factor through and be deeper in our approach. And so much of the time, like I you've probably never heard
Mhm.
me say this. I've always threatened to write a book called The Slowest Way to Success. Unfortunately, no publisher wanted to pick that up because everyone wants to buy the fastest way to success.
Right.
Or the other one is that we have all these masterminds, and we have all these think tanks, and we have all these training programs to be a leader. But what happens is we get trained to speed to being a leader, and we're all terrible followers.
Mhm.
And I say this, and I just want to take a little bit of time because I really want to get your thought on this. So, and I say this because, so I was leading a group discussion in one of our chapters. And so in this group discussion, I said, we have the Super Bowl coming up, and the Super Bowl is a game of inches, but in the life of the entrepreneur, it's a game of thoughts. And those who are able to make better thoughts win more or produce more or earn more. It's a game of thoughts. And so I got it, and I was going through there, and so I was leading the whole discussion. And then after I'm done, it's like everyone's like there, but there was silence. And nothing. I was like, does anyone want to contribute to this? Nothing. It was like quiet. And then what happened was, the most seasoned, the oldest guy in the room, he stood up and he said something. And then it was like kind of like magic. And then the second person stood up. And, and the thing is what made it really great, Danielle, was not just the part of I was teaching and training, about the theory of thoughts and entrepreneurship. It was what made it real was the voices that came behind.
Mhm.
It was the voices that edified. And I think so much of the time, we think we have to lead so much. And sometimes what really creates the impact in the community is when the followers edify and they evolve and they, emote an emotion of gratefulness. That's where leadership, I think, really comes, and that's where depth comes in. And so in your world, in transformation, I'm sure you teach a little bit about leadership, a little bit, maybe even about followership, but you also help in this thing called post-traumatic growth, which is really interesting to me. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so much with what you just said. And I just want to say, I love the fact that you made sure that you held the space for people to stand up and give their thoughts, to express, because we can have all of the beautiful, wonderful, visionary thoughts, but if we're not expressing that, that's the biggest way, and the first step in taking action is to express that and speak it aloud.
Right.
So
Well, yeah, thank you for that, because it's like then all of a sudden, and I'll, so I'll allow myself to continue on that because all of a sudden one, and then the second, and all of a sudden then another, then a gal came in, and then all of a sudden it was like people just they all started chiming in, and to me, fellowship, you know, uh, is just as important as the leadership, because that's where the magic happens, because the stories of all the people create more impact than the training alone.
well, and that is the training, because
Yeah,
it's co-creation. And as you were talking with Craig, community is so much more impactful and expansive than doing things on your own.
yeah,
And that we'll tie that back to the post-traumatic growth then, right?
yeah,
That is
absolutely.
that is part of it. With what post-traumatic growth is, I mean, I think everybody is very, very aware of what post-traumatic stress disorder is.
Yeah,
Um, I think that almost everybody experiences that at some point, because part of life is trauma. That's part of it. Post-traumatic growth, though, is the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual transformation as a result of trauma. And it's such a beautiful gift. It's not always a guarantee that everybody is going to experience it, but sometimes it happens naturally. Other
right.
times it happens by choice because of consciousness, because you have a choice of how you want to either react or respond to the experiences that you have in the world. And so with post-traumatic growth, kind of the key factors that happen with that is an increased gratitude. Going back to what you were saying of this is something that's about depth, and it's gratitude that's coming from the heart space and being able to open up your heart to be able to receive. It's a newfound sense of purpose in the world, having purposeful action that we take. It's enhanced relationships because of that heart space being opened. We're
Right.
able to be more compassionate. We're able to understand one another because of understanding ourselves and our experiences.
Mhm.
It's creating a much broader inner and spiritual connection. It's allowing us to have a personal power where we really stand in our own, and we really allow our voice to be heard.
And,
It's
and yeah, and so much of the time, and I want to work on that because, like, I run an entrepreneurial community. I work with a lot of people who are really trying to get in the growth space for themselves, putting themselves out there. And there is something to the attitude of gratitude. And and sometimes when I see people and I hear their stories, Danielle, it's like, this is what fascinates me about you. This is what fascinates me about Craig, is the one word I didn't get to talk with Craig about in my version of post-traumatic growth is the word adversity. you know
Mm,
and I said, if there's anything in this world, I said, that we need more of, is we have enough diversity training. I think what we really need is more adversity training, because for so much of us, we have been trained in our society to be so myopic and self, you know, gratifying, and not having gratitude, which is actually
mhm.
different. Is the original, again, going back to my love of knowing what words mean. Um, you know, adversity is what leads to gratitude, because in the original word adversity means that when that situation happens, you don't run from. In the original word, you run to.
Words. Yeah.
And that is something that we are not trained to do,
Right.
much anymore in this, personality of the United States.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because of a fear-based lens.
Yeah.
And
And and
it's dressed up really nicely as something else, as, being courageous um in independence. But that really tears us apart,
you
because it
know,
does to retreat instead of going forward together, because we're going forward in an I-centric way of being instead of a we-centric,
yeah,
and that
totally.
tears us apart.
I couldn't agree more. I've never seen a team of one in a tug of war beat a team of we,
Right,
ever.
right.
It takes, and a word that you said, another word that you stated that I just love, is the word courageous. And to me, the most courageous people that I see around me are the ones that have made sometimes the biggest mistakes. you know and because of those mistakes, they're able to relate and actually speak to those who may have not made as big of mistakes, but they speak to you in such a way to say, gosh, if that person's been able to do it, I can do it too. And maybe they're leaving me some clues for me to get there. And I
Yeah.
think that that's what's so important. But you also have a great name for your company, and it's called Reach for More. And I wanted to kind of talk about, how did you come up with that name, and what really resonated with you to say, what, we all need to indeed reach for more, because I love that as a business name, but I also love it as a personal growth mantra, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm a complex person, or I'm a dynamic. I'm a
Hmm.
dynamic person, and so I always look at things from multiple angles. Um, the 4 in the name is very intentional. The 4 speaks to the body, the emotions, the mind, and the spirit. So I make sure that I incorporate, or I encompass those 4 things in all of the things that I work on with clients. And first we look within before we look externally.
Right.
So it's always, how are we engaging in life? Who are we being in those 4 areas? How are those 4 areas in alignment with our integrity? And each individual has their own sense of integrity. That's what makes us unique. That's what makes us dynamic individuals. And, that's the different perceptions that we live from. So I never say that everybody has to do the same thing. We're not cookie cutters, that doesn't
Right.
work. But what is it in each of those buckets that allow you to be full
Hmm.
and really taking a holistic approach? Um, and then also with reaching for more, that is both going inward. Well, not both. It's multiple areas. Going inward, being able to go upward. How do we expand ourselves? How do we expand our consciousness?
Right. And I love that because I can see it. And one of the things I always look at too is like so many of the time we look at lines and actually, it's almost like we should look at points that expand like a
Mhm.
globe. The conscious really is it's like 4D. It's not 2D or 3D. It's so much more, isn't it? When you're really expanding
Right,
that consciousness of self.
right, right. And it is four-dimensional. Well, I don't much more dimensional, more probably than, people say 5D, 6D. It's everywhere. It's just
Right.
expansiveness. It's infinity. But really looking at like, how can I expand upwards? How can I look more to my roots? So what's the lower expansion? How do I go deeper into myself, my consciousness, my psyche? How can I embrace my shadows, the dark
Mm,
elements of myself that I like to to kind of reject or run away from, or that I just don't even want to acknowledge.
yeah.
Because if we acknowledge those, we show those parts of us love, then there's not really anything that can tear us down.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I believe everything is built from the inside
Mhm,
out,
mhm.
when it comes to the dynamic of the people. And the more that and if you try to, build or you try to control the outside, the more frustrating, you become. And it
Right.
and it and it really is hard because, we in this show, during the time frame, we've talked about these high achievers. And it goes back to like that world class athlete, and they say, those most of those really top level number one world class athletes say, I am not competing against others. you know I'm really competing against myself. And I love what Craig said too. And part of that self is it's about the progress of it all, not the perfection of it all. And I've always felt it. It's okay to have perfection as the goal, but perfection is not the goal. Progress is. And that goes back to that whole thing that you and I talked about. And that's just having the understanding of that. And all of a sudden life to me becomes more fulfilling,
Yeah,
when we're able to understand and just be patient enough to enjoy the ride of the journey, right?
yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, to add to that, I actually used to have a very big adversity to failure.
Mm,
And I've had a bit of perfectionism in me. And I discovered that when I was about 15. I was a gymnast and I competed, and I realized, oh, I'm getting this mindset that things have to be perfect and they don't need to be. So I challenged myself to start failing more.
mm,
And, one of the things that I really loved when I started my business was there is nothing that is a failure. Success is failure. Failure is success. The more that I fail, the more that I learn. And therefore, I can succeed more because I can take those lessons and I can change, I can adapt, I
yeah.
can evolve.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's just like, I feel like we need to change. A failure is only a failure if you keep repeating it.
Mhm,
The same exact thing.
mhm.
But failure when not repeated is called lesson.
Yeah.
And that is the way, I know that you want people to see it. Oh my goodness. I mean, does a half an hour go by
I
quick or
know.
not? I mean, it's like we are coming out to the end of the show. So I want to make sure that we have enough time. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run your banner by. I
Yeah.
want to remind everyone I'm with Danielle Dittberner. She's founder of Reach for More. She's a best-selling author, a motivator. I'm giving you that word, a lifepreneur, an artist. Reach her at Danielle at Reach for More. That's the number 4 more.com, or call her at 812-325-7584. Again, she is at reachformore.com. And are there any other ways that people can get a hold of you that I didn't put here?
I would say that calling me, texting me, emailing, those are the best ways. I can also be reached on Instagram at Dani, DANI Dittberner, DITTBERNER, and on LinkedIn. So.
And and Craig got three things. I mean, but we're running out of time. So one thing, if there is one thing that you would gift a person so they can reach for more, right? So they're an entrepreneur or they're a family. If there's just one thing they could do right now so they can reach for more, what would that be?
Dive into your creativity. Find a way to create. Even if you say, I'm not a creative person, every single one of us is a creative being because we were made from creation. We have the capability to create in any way that our heart desires.
Oh my goodness. I love that. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you being here. If you like, you and Craig stay for a little groom room wrap up afterwards. And I say, Craig, Danielle, let's do this again sometime because this was just way too much fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure. So grateful for you. So grateful for Craig too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Everyone, thank you so much for being at our show. We are here every Thursday from 2:30 to 3:30 Arizona time. Yes, we're the Mavericks, so that's like 1:30 in California. That's like, I don't know, like 4:30 on the East Coast and 3:30 in Central time. So, come be with us. I always bring very interesting, have very interesting guests, interesting conversations, and I hope I make it interesting for you. You can get us on the iNetrepreneur Network, off the calendar, or go to youtube.com/iNetrepreneur Radio. Again, thank you for being here. I know you have places to go and things to do, but you did your thing with us today, and I want to say thank you for it.
You've been watching the iNetrepreneur Show, a production of the iNetrepreneur Radio Network, with host Robert W. Jones. Join Robert each week as he visits with new and exciting guests who inspire, teach, and mentor entrepreneurs worldwide. Follow Robert each Thursday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, and 8:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time.